how we can get these things because they seem to be really making me happy. How can I get a better partner, better job, better car? Oh, I want to avoid those people or avoid that because that's really going to make me suffer. And then we just go round and round and round and round, of course. And this doesn't help at all. Because it just leads also to attachment to pleasant things, aversion to unpleasant things, and just causes more suffering. So I think this is one way we can help to reduce and eliminate compulsive thinking, is through that preliminary as well. So these are the 5 inner conditions, and that's the outer condition. Any questions about any of those? We've still got a few minutes left for today. Yeah.
I was thinking about the last thing you said, and sometimes when you think that way, it leads to depression.
Which way? Obsessive compulsive.
Yeah, but I mean, when you think that you don't need to get things from the outside, you're focused on the inside, it's also something that you can get stuck on. I don't know if I'm making it clear. You're focusing on happiness
Right.
outside. This is wrong, okay? It leads to compulsive thinking.
Well, it can do, yeah.
Another way of compulsive thinking is depression. When everything is focused on something that is, I don't know, wrong about you.
So these are the 2 extremes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And both of them are based on the worldview that happiness and suffering is coming from out there. Because depression is about, I can't get those things, it's just hopeless. And even if I do get them, they're not satisfying me. I can never find happiness. It's hopeless, I'm completely depressed. It's useless, no chance. So depression and anxiety come from that worldview. So if we don't shift that worldview, exactly this is going to happen. We're going to go from one extreme to the other, either being apathetic and depressed because there's no chance to get happy, or we're caught up in this sort of agitation trying to get more stuff. So we're just going to flip between those 2 extremes. Elation, depression. Elation, depression, depending on what's happening to us. And again, the middle way, of course, is to shift the worldview. Because as long as we have the worldview, the source of my happiness and suffering is out there, I think it's almost guaranteed we're going to oscillate between elation, depression, excitement, depression, attachment, aversion. It's a natural byproduct of that worldview. So if we can shift the worldview, I think a lot of this agitation, attachment, depression, not all of it, but I think you'll find it will, and obsessive compulsive thinking, I think you'll find a lot of it will calm down.
Regarding the compulsive thinking, so if we suggest we shift our worldview.
Well, that's not the only thing, but that's a key element, yeah.
Yeah, because if you do it, we're still stuck with the habit, because most of it is habitual.
Well, even if we shift the worldview, you'll still have the habit, but at least then we've got the beginnings of a perspective where we can work to reduce that. I mean, just shifting our worldview doesn't mean overnight our obsessive compulsive thinking will disappear, but certainly we won't be increasing it, and then it'll slowly, hopefully over time, we can decrease it.
So probably we need to change, to replace it with a different habit. Like
Sure.
To think about.
Well, the different habit is that not to be let the mind be in control. We're in control, which means if we don't need to think, we don't think. We just be. And if we need to think about something in a constructive way, we're the boss. We think, because sometimes we need to think to solve things and plan and so forth. But we're in control. Obsessive compulsive thinking, we're completely out of control. The mind is dictating to us. So that's what we want. And that's where the shamatha practice is going to be helpful, particularly the shamatha practice that we're going to be doing tomorrow. I mean, now we're really the slaves of our mind, particularly in our modern society that has so much emphasis on that stuff out there, you know, the material thing, the capitalist society, more stuff, more. So we have this obsessive compulsive thinking. We oscillate between elation, depression, agitation. And of course, then we're the slaves of our mind. We're tormented by our mind, particularly because of this. And And of course, if there's something unpleasant comes up, we don't like it, we don't know what to do with it, we just try and suppress it, you know, unpleasant stuff. And of course, suppressing doesn't deal with it, it just often manifests as a lot of physical problems in the body. A lot of modern day illnesses are suppressed mental thoughts and emotions and so forth, and memories. So in the practice that we're going to do tomorrow, where we can observe our own mind instead of getting caught up in obsessive compulsive thinking or trying to suppress it, because that's our normal reaction. Either something comes up, off we go, or if we don't like it, stuff it back down. So they're the two extremes. We're tormented by our mind. We've made our mind our worst enemy often. In this practice tomorrow, the shamatha practice, observing the mind, particularly with that practice, we can become the master of our own mind. What we tend to do, if our mind is full of this obsessive compulsive thinking, what we try to do, of course, is we try to make our mind still. Does that work? No way. It's just like throwing petrol on the fire, because we're fighting with the mind. I mean, we're just like throwing petrol on the fire. We just get more agitated. So the simple, and of course, the trick is not to either get caught up in it and not try to suppress it and fight with it. The correct thing, the one that'll work, what we're doing tomorrow, step back and watch. That's all we need to do. We don't need to do anything with the mind except step back and look, watch. Because if we can step back and watch the mind, two things will happen. One is, we're not going to get caught up in obsessive compulsive thinking. Some thought will come up, and instead of latching onto it and off we go, we'll go, oh, always pass, always pass. And every time we do that, the habit of this garbage coming up will get less and less and less. So naturally, over time, our mind will become more quiet and still. So that's one thing. Second thing is that if some strong thought, emotion, memory arises, now if it's strong, we go, oh, what's that? Oh, stuff it back down. Of course, that just leads to a lot of problems, and we project a lot of that negativity onto others, and a lot of physical problems as well. If we develop this ability in shamatha tomorrow, to the practice we're going to look at tomorrow, is just watch it. It can't do anything to harm us. Because if you look at what a thought, emotional memory really is, from its own side, it's virtually nothing. It has no power to harm us. No power at all. Thoughts, emotions, and memories only have power to harm us if we give them power. And we give them power in one of two ways, either by identifying with them and following them, or trying to suppress them. Then they have a lot of power to harm us. But if we just step back and watch, they can't do anything to us, because we're not identifying with them. It's just like a wave on the ocean. Something's coming up, passing. Okay. And so if we do this practice, then if some strong mental event comes up, we can simply watch it, and it can't harm us. So we'll really become the masters of our own mind. So that's why I think the Mahamudra approach to shamatha is helpful in our modern world. Because in the Mahamudra approach to shamatha, we're using the mind as the object. Across the board in Buddhism, the most common object is the breath. There are other objects. I mean, some of you have studied in the Geluk, the Lam Rim, the object is mental image of a Buddha. Not so easy to focus on. And other traditions talk about other things. But here in Mahamudra, the object is the mind. And that's one of the huge benefits with using the mind as the object. Exactly this. Reduce obsessive compulsive thinking, and we'll become the masters of our own mind. And that's the practice we're going to be looking at tomorrow in the text, and also doing some meditation. Okay, I think we've got time for one more question, otherwise we'll finish. Yeah.
Question, just a request. Can you lead dedication, please?
Lead dedication?
Please.
Okay. So let's do a little dedication. So let's just sit quietly and do a little dedication. So again, we can simply allow the body to become relaxed and allow the mind to become relaxed. And simply noticing the rhythm of our breath. And then in conclusion here today, we can dedicate all of our efforts here today towards the goal of realizing the preciousness of this human life, a life full of opportunity. And through realizing that this opportunity is not going to last forever, and thereby motivating us to really make our life most meaningful. And one way to make that meaningful, of course, is to come to realize the nature of our mind and thereby overcome all of our mental afflictions and suffering. And together with that, to have this aspiration of bodhicitta, so that we can really be most effective in helping to liberate those around us as well. Thank you. So let's finish there.